Here I am.
Hey, you're here. Nice to see you. Awesome. I'm sorry I missed you on bicycle yesterday.
It's all right.
It was
Yeah,
a hot day to be biking.
biking in different parts of Brooklyn. Uh,
Yeah, we were just in different areas of the same borough, but people don't realize how big that borough is. It's
right,
big,
right. Yeah, and it was big and warm, and
very
yeah,
hot.
I was a sweaty mess by the time.
Very intrepid of both of us to be out on bicycles yesterday of all days.
Yeah, yeah, 100 and something in the sun. It felt like.
So I'm super glad that you joined today to
You bet.
game do this. You are one of my many collaborators in the experiments we do with Another Limited Rebellion. And I'm a fan of your personal work and your professional work with your theater company. So we can talk a little bit about that today, I hope, and share it with the Creative Sprint community.
Sure.
And the way this works is we're going to do this week's Creative Sprint prompt. We've been putting weekly prompts out there for people on the Instagram, thanks to Thareya. And she picks them, so I don't know what they're going to be, so that's good. And then on Fridays, I do one live with a special guest, today's special guest, Rob Neill.
There I am.
We'll learn a lot more about him shortly. And the prompt this week is to create something inspired by a tradition from a culture other than your own, tradition or holiday from a culture other than your own. Now, right before this, looked around my room and I came up with something for us to do, but I also thought you might have an idea. So we're not obliged to do the same thing, but what comes to mind when you hear that, first of all?
I mean, it is about, going outside of what you traditionally experience and trying to reflect back on what that is. I kind of initially gravitated toward Japan or Russia, just because I feel like you sent me some things from Japan that I found kind of inspiring when you were there, including this amazing guy. And two, I studied Russian back at college, and I still have a random postcard from when I went there.
Oh, wow.
This is a postcard of Kharkov in like 87.
Wow.
And it's like, it's amazing because it's those like social realist architecture, giant housing projects that they have. And just like, I remember, because I went there, and there's so many traditions there that are not necessarily holidays, although in Russia there are a lot of holidays that are honoring the workers and the Russian officials. A lot of that kind of holidays, not necessarily the way we often associate holidays here, which are like religious based, because a lot of those were banned.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? What ends up being like the cultural holidays are different. Yeah, they're not celebrating religious holidays we celebrate a lot of religious holidays as secular holidays here because that's how we do.
Yeah. So it was kind of forming in like, okay, do I manipulate the postcard, which I love doing. I love taking a postcard that is in some way putting a message on it, but also altering the postcard itself, and then supporting the post office, as we all should do.
Oh, Rob, I already learned something about you. I had no idea that you had a postcard art practice.
Yeah, well, yeah, I use the term art loosely. But
creative postal art, creative postal practice.
Yeah, like collage and stickers and things like that, often, or messing with the way the text appears on the card too. I think to the bane of my grandmother's, was known early on for putting way too many words on a postcard.
Writing on the like sides around,
getting tinier and sloppier, and then like going, putting the address in a tiny little box and then outlining it so the post office would know where.
You actually see that Oh, that's nice. You have some of those from her.
Well, my grandmothers both wrote prolifically for a while back to me, but their writing was beautiful and not as intense on a card, or overwhelming to the medium.
When you see people of another era in their handwriting, it's just it makes me feel so sad about I write like, as they say, like a doctor. Or I should have been a doctor. I write in chicken scratch, illegible chicken scratch. So here's how I'm gonna. This is how I think I know how I'm gonna approach this, but it could change as we're talking. Who knows?
Yeah.
I saw this little drawing. I actually want to participate in the AmaBA challenge, which is actually an Instagram thing. It does come from Japan, and I had meant to try it, but I hadn't done it before now. And this is one of those, like that wind god image I sent you. You know, there's all these, there's always really cool, like sort of fantasy superhero, supernatural beings in Japanese culture that are so fun. And again, some of them are kind of religious, kind of secular. It's very interesting there how that stuff blends. One is AmaBA, and I think it is a supernatural creature that has the ability to predict apparently like pandemics and also prevent them or keep you healthy from them if you make a drawing of her. Apparently she shows up and she says, if you draw me and share me, like if you make drawings of me and share it, she's a perfect social media yokai, because she wants you to draw her and share pictures of her that you've drawn to protect you from a pandemic. Weird, right? But totally a Japanese thing apparently that already existed. So people started drawing and sharing her on Instagram. So you can look up AmaBA, that's her name, AmaBie, on Instagram, or AmaBA challenge, and you'll see like amazing, she's like sort of like mermaidy kind of creature.
Yeah.
If you look on Instagram, you'll see all these amazing like drawings and illustrations and sculptures, and then like people dressing up in costumes or like dressing their cats like her. So it's kind of interesting, something that people are doing that comes from another culture. I thought I would try my hand at that today. So that is my thought, but we'll see where this goes.
I like that it's a mermaid with legs.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, legs, sort of 3-part tail, I think maybe, so she can kind of stand up on them.
Yeah.
I think maybe like 3 parts of a tail.
Okay.
Like 3 fins, maybe fins. Not sure. She has a pointy ear. She has a beak. She's almost like a bird, a little bit bird-like. Very interesting. Right. They have fun with this stuff. So that said, the deal is we just start sort of making and riffing on our own. And then I'm going to ask you some questions about you. We can then riff as we chat and work.
Okay.
And then we just, after maybe 20 minutes or so, or wherever we feel like we're done, we share what we made. And anybody else who's watching can share what they made.
Yeah.
And then we post what we make. You can send me post it on your Instagram, or if you don't feel comfortable, you can send me that, and we'll share it. And then that's really it. It's just
all right.
Just to make something together. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna use the postcard as my. I also have a bunch of corks here.
Ooh.
And I thought about making some kind of cork and rubber band sculpture, but I like the idea of creating a postcard that goes to somebody. And I'm going to use the corks to make circular patterns on the card that then I don't know what I'm going to do with.
Cool. Okay, so I already am inspired by you. You're going to make a postcard? I'm going to make a postcard too. I have these little like pre-printed postcard guys.
Nice.
Yeah, so let's I'm gonna jump on the board. There he goes. Already it's transforming because we're working together. I'm gonna put my AmaBA on a postcard and send it to somebody.
Yeah, I'm up. I am tracing some cork shapes that will be something. I'm kind of playing with the idea of the wind from the god that you sent me, and the water qualities of AmaBA. What's the name of the god that you sent me? The wind god, you know?
That's from the Meiji Jinju, I think. I don't know. I gotta look up what his name is. We'll have to look it up afterwards. But it's cool. I thought he could be one of your gods that you might pay attention to. Your pantheon. Your personal pantheon.
Time.
Think about him. It was like robust and like vocal. I don't know.
Yeah.
something to say. So that goes back to a little bit about you. So I met you many years ago through through a mutual friend and through your theater work, and several of my friends have worked with you in creative capacities, and I've been a big fan of your company. So maybe tell me a little bit about like how what is it that you do?
Okay. I am the artistic director and one of the founding ensemble members of the New York Neo-Futurists. And the New York Neo-Futurists are a performance collective that creates new work still pretty much weekly in under certain aesthetic rules and constraints. And obviously in this day and age, there are a lot more constraints.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are creating in audio currently and some video, and we are making a podcast called Hit Play, and we're making short films, and we have a Patreon, and in August we're going to launch a live show that will have a certain number of plays, and most of which will be happening live as you watch.
You guys have always been prolific. Like that's your deal, is like 30 plays in 1 hour when you see you guys live. And I love that like you have not been any less prolific in this forced virtual situation.
Yeah, I mean, part of it's been making that pivot, and part of it's been figuring out what individual people in our company have the bandwidth to do and what we can do collectively, and how we can support each other, and how we can continue to have new work and play in these mediums and create stuff that is engaging and hopefully inspiring and activating, And
that company, the New York Neo-Futurists, is the New York Neo-Futurists because you actually have like sort of sister or sibling companies all over the world. Is that
kind of, yeah. There's the Chicago Neo-Futurists. I'm actually wearing a shirt. The Chicago Neo-Futurists is where it started, and the San Francisco Neo-Futurists, and there's also a company in London called Degenerate Fox. And one of their members just did a show last week in Peru with a bunch of South American performers and creators. And yeah, so there are neo-futurists all over the world, and some of them are currently doing neo-futurism, and some of them are currently doing other things. Some of whom are teaching and raising families and doing film and television. There's part
so it really seems like your company is like especially now, I feel like you guys are really a community as well. Do you feel like you guys have been able to connect in new ways?
Yeah, I think
or emotionally.
Yeah, I think that's ideally what we're trying to do is say, okay, well, we used to have to meet in a space, and we used to have a limitation by doing a show in a theater that you had to be at that theater to see the show. And now, we're trying to create in places and people can see it from wherever and sometimes whenever they want to, and be a part of the community and engage, the kind of art we create like this is interactive and engaging, and trying to get people to be a part of it in a variety of ways, which is a challenge in the digital realm, but we're working in that and figure out ways that we can do that in the Hit Play the podcast and in the short films we create, and then hopefully in the live show that will happen on August 29th.
That's amazing. We'll make sure we share a bunch of that stuff. I feel like as someone who's been like experimenting in the digital space for a long time, and we're trying to get people to be interactive with the space, trying to use these tools in a creative way, and really finding it difficult because people have the opportunity to just do stuff in person, which is just so engaging, so interactive. That I feel like actually the virtual digital space is going to benefit so much from actually having all these amazing creative people forced into like working with it and pushing the boundaries of it and what it can be and how it can connect people.
Right.
When I'm feeling optimistic, that's what I feel.
Yeah. I mean, part of it is, you know, in what we do, you know, we try to be as innovative and creative and engage in what the givens are, and you know, the givens certainly have changed. So the question is, okay, how do you do that now?
How did you? So that's now an amazing work that you're doing there, and you're also doing your own work, making films and stuff and poems.
Yeah. I mean, I've been making some films on my own, for sure. I have, and then I just finished a run with the San Francisco company and made more stuff for their show. They have a show that goes live every Friday, and there's currently another New York Neo-Futurist and a Chicago Neo-Futurist in the show this week, making new art under what is called the Worldwide Ridge.
Wow, so cool! I love it. It's like you've become a global art artist creative consortium now, fully global.
Yeah.
How did you? So you've been involved in New York Neo-Futurists for a long time. How did you end up in that amazing community of artists? Were you creative before? Did you always associate creative? Were you always making art?
I think so. I think the idea was, you know, always be creating and always, you know, I was doing performance poetry or slam poetry on the Chicago scene and some theater and got cast as a Neo-Futurist to come to New York, and that was a long time ago in the 90s, and you know, ever since then I've been trying to figure out ways to keep creating, and sometimes that's been neo-futuristically and sometimes that's been on my own or in other projects. Was that what you're getting at?
You said that you came by the Neo-Futurists by way of doing like poetry performing, but what was your academic background? Did you study?
I studied Russian.
Oh, I would have guessed theater. See?
No, I didn't really study theater until after college. I studied Russian and philosophy.
That's perfect for an artist. What else do you need?
And then I went to theater school. I went to Grinnell for college, and then I went to the O'Neill and National Theatre Institute in Connecticut, and then I went to the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art for an MA in classical theater, and then after that I went to the Warsaw Academy to do an intensive in avant-garde art, which who knew that would then be, you know, so influential in where I am and what I do now.
Or you knew, I guess. You had a feeling. Yeah, it all makes sense. I guess I did know this kind of, but it is kind of cool to put these pieces back together, knowing what you do now and sort of roots of things.
Yeah.
Whether it's educational or curiosity, and Russian arts and experimental work. But did you know, like, when you were growing up, like, were you the creative kid, or were you like, does your family? Sometimes people, I'm always just kind of curious, like, how do you get this idea that you're a creative person, that you get to do this, or that you get to live your life in this amazing, fun way, being creative 100% of the time, always be creating?
Yeah, I mean,
who gave you permission, Rob? Who gave you permission?
Well, I definitely took a lot of different art lessons. Like I studied piano for a while and viola for a while and dance for a while. But
people in your family did stuff like that?
My grandfather played multiple instruments. One grandfather did that. Another grandfather was a part-time clown. But both my parents worked in education, and so and then I did plays in high school, and then I did plays in improv in college, and then I was like, oh my god, I have to do this. This is what I love doing. You know, let's see how it goes. I wasn't ever sure. I didn't ever think I'd end up in New York City, but you know. Several years later, I'm still here.
There you go. Yeah, so you weren't one of those like, I gotta go to New York and get myself on Broadway.
Something. I mean,
I kind of thought like I wanted to do that, which is weird. Now it's like I can't even imagine that by the time I got here, I was so not interested in that. But when I was a little child, I was like, I'm gonna go to New York and tap dance on Broadway. Isn't that funny?
See, yeah, I think that's
And then my
amazing.
joke as an adult was like, look at me, I'm tap dancing down Broadway. I can do that anytime I want. And you like,
Yeah, I think.
literally tap dancing on Broadway.
I mean,
100
I'm not sure that. I have to say, first of all, it has been a challenge trying to do this and talk.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more expert at this. Sorry.
For me, I would do a lot better if I just put on music and like went to it. But
All right. Well, you don't even oblige to get very far with this. It's just a little idea generating, and if we chat more, that's fine. You can work on your little art later.
Well, I have turned the cork into a stamp, like putting Sharpie onto that, and I'm like adding some textures on both sides of the postcard.
Ooh, and it's making a neat sound too.
Right now, it's squeaking on the postcard has a glossy finish, which I found frustrating when I first started sending this type of, because I got it comes from a pack of it, it's, some people would say Kharkov and some people would say Kharkov. It comes in a pack of Kharkov postcards. Kharkov being a probably a good size. I have to look it up. Russian city now, but like not one that necessarily are like, oh, I need to. I'm looking for that to be my Russian vacation city.
Right. I would almost categorize that image. My mother loves a good bad postcard, like a good ugly postcard, and I feel like I don't want to say what people think is ugly or not, but the idea of like these sort of what you put on a postcard is amusing to us, and that, like, my mom, like, she could find a postcard of like an industrial parking lot that someone was like, "Welcome to Ohio." You're like, that's weird choice that you want to celebrate Ohio with this, or whatever. But what people choose to put on postcards, and there's like little racks of postcards. You pick them out, and you get like,
Right.
I love it. Keeping the post office going. I love a good postcard. And so also, like, did you ever do some, speaking of my mother, who's probably watching here, but like postal art, mail art? That's part of avant-garde art tradition, using the mail, the post office.
Right. Yeah. Kharkov, I just found out is in Kiev or in Ukraine. It's, I think we did like Kharkov, Kursk, and Kiev, and there's a big battle there at one point. I think I went there as part of a culture and history course. So we definitely went to museums, but we also and like shows and things like that. But we also went to places where they talked a lot about the history and the.
That's awesome. So you've actually been to that location.
Yeah. I mean, right near where this postcard is. Yeah.
That's great.
We definitely didn't go into as many of these kind of buildings. We went more into, to like monuments.
Yeah. Big public.
Yeah.
Monuments to various wars you have to try to remember.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember one of the more intense ones is Babi Yar, which is a memorial to like the slaughtering of innocent people, basically, in Kiev. And it's like beautiful, and like we went there and it was like snowing on on the giant statue, which is people crawling out of a pit.
Wow, that's insane. It's interesting. So did your connection to Russia came from loving like Russian theater and literature or art, or?
Yeah, well, I'd studied languages before college, but then I decided I would try something new. So I decided I'd study Russian. That was one. Grinnell had a strong program.
A post Cold War Russian programs.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, cool. I'll study that, and then I started taking like cultural classes and historical classes, and um, and
That's so
analyzing
cool.
what the tendencies in the Cold War were, all that.
Timely for our age group, I think. Yeah, my family is from Eastern Europe, Kiev, Odessa. No, but I don't know so much because they were of that era of like, get the F away and we don't want to ever talk about it again. Why we left.
Right.
All that kind of thing. So then I sort of, this sort of had that generational like, well, we just don't talk about that, where we're from or why we left there. And that's sad, but now I've learned a little bit. Okay, so here's one. Again, there's no pressure as usual to make any of this look like anything, but here's my little like, I always end up doing things during this that I would never otherwise do. I do not do cartoony drawings. I don't usually work with watercolors, but I had fun. Kind of like, thought of her top part. She's kind of like a bird, it looks like to me, and the bottom half is kind of a fish. So, and then I wanted her to have like Farrah Fawcett hair. I thought that was kind of glamorous. And then I'm working on the outside being kind of like a glowy, drippy aura of some sort because she's some kind of magical creature.
Yeah, I love it. I definitely am reflecting glowy and smudgy.
Yeah, glowy and smudgy is good. I think I feel funny. People, we talk a lot about perfectionism, right? When we do our work with ALR, helping people to not be perfectionist. Perfection is the enemy of great, right? Or done.
Yeah. So this is where I'm at.
Let's see. Oh, that's awesome.
And that's so like on this side is like the wind of the wind god, right? And
yes.
then I took kind of more of a watery. This is where I was doing more of this. I did stamping on both sides, but like the idea is that these will dictate how I write the postcard to.
Yeah, you'll be like then limited to like working around those.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So mine became very textural.
Nice. That's great. Yeah. Now you've altered that card, and then you'll send it to somebody with some language incorporated in an interesting way. And when you put like language on there, are you like communicating a specific message to them, or a thought, or a poem, or a?
No idea.
You'll see. Who knows? Fun, Rob. This is super fun. This is really all this is just you and I chatting.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah. So take a picture and share it, and we'll put it in the Instagram so everyone can see it. And this video will go up somewhere if anybody wants to make with us.
Oh, it's gonna go up. We're gonna.
Yeah, it's gonna go up. It stays in.
Hear me try to recall Russian things.
It's great. I like the casualness, riffing on random stuff. It's just a sort of chance to connect and make stuff because normally I would get to be doing more of that with people, and in particular you and I have always got to have fun being creative together, and you're such a great collaborator and inspirer. So I hope that some of our Creative Sprint folks will check out your work and the Neo-Futurist work. It always inspires me.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, you can find us. We have a New York or NY Neo-Futurists Instagram channel, and we're in the process of expanding. We do some IGTV short films, and we're in the process of expanding what we have there because we've been making short films for a while now, but like we've definitely started making more of them, and we'll continue to make more of them during this year. And some of them are just personal reflections, and some of them are responding to what's happening in the world because it's just overwhelming.
It's a lot to be responding to, and as creatives, where we're used to being like, that's our job, is respond to what's happening, and then you're like, oh my god, too many things are happening.
right, and in that time, some of the best things for some people are to make more things, and some of the best things for other people are to take some space and have some breath and step away for a little bit, and or to focus on specifically working on those the things for like Black Lives Matter and or directly responding and helping with things with COVID, like that. It's all valid and all important, I think.
Yeah, that's really important to acknowledge that. Do you feel like, is there any particular aspect of the work you've been doing in the past couple of months that's really been helpful to you in terms of staying creative and staying sane and connected?
Yeah, I mean, I think as busy or committed as I am at certain times, I think part of it is to not have so many things that you're trying to do each day. I think whatever you thought, how you were approaching things before the pandemic, before the murders, before the protests, like that's not the standard you need to work at now. You need to redefine and be able to reflect on that for your what works for you now, and what success looks like for you now, and how you can just meditate or not try to do too much, and also find your communities of support, like who can support you and who you can support as well. I think that isolation, however it is for you, is super tricky on the human psyche, and not that I am an expert on it, but definitely finding the ways that you are best supported in this time is important.
Yes. Thank you for that. It's always good to be reminded, and it's good to hear other people say that, I think, over and over. So again, it's like giving other people permission too, right? Like you're very prolific. I tend to be someone who's like, and I joke, we have obsessive creative disorder. Like our go-to is always just make stuff. And that's not always even good for us, but also other people see that and they're like, maybe they feel bad or they don't feel like that's their route. And it doesn't have to be, that's just not, what's appropriate for you is what's appropriate for you. And also to look for that balance in there. If you're finding maybe you're obsessively creating, but maybe you're not taking the time to think or reflect, and you need that too. So I think that's it's good to remember that, and good to hear that from other people who, you see also acknowledging, you see what people do on their social media, but you don't necessarily always know what's going on with them, and yeah. So.
And more and more, I mean, here we are on a digital medium, but more and more it's important to unplug and not be staring at a screen and not be having earbuds in and just kind of present.
Okay, good. That said, next time you and I hang out, let's hang out on our bicycles.
Yeah, awesome.
Like in the city, when it's not 8,000 degrees. So thank you for joining me today, Rob. It's always a pleasure and a joy.
Yeah, thanks,
Have an awesome Friday.
You too. Enjoy your weekend.
Okay, take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining, watching.